Okay, welcome to our latest Swampcast, where we're going to talk about Florida's win over South Carolina, preview the game against Tennessee. Pat Dooley and Kevin Brockway, the Gainesville Sun. And Kevin, you were up there in Columbia. Florida played awfully well, despite the turnovers. And it almost looked to me like maybe Billy wanted to get that game going at a fast level and say, it's okay to turn it over, because they're going to turn it over too.
Yeah, and that's the thing, 16 turnovers for Florida, but 18 for South Carolina. Right. And really, Florida cashed in better on the break, with 15 fast break points, really better. Whereas when Florida turned it over, it was more out of bounds. There were less kind of loud turnovers that resulted in fast break points. So that worked to their favor. I thought Florida, early in the game, defended very well. They did a nice job on Ellington. And really, Irving Walker, who's had some of his issues defensively all season, really guarded Ellington for most of the game. And I thought did a pretty nice job.
And the kid that hurt him here, Lakeem Jackson, didn't hurt him there at all. I think he had 2 points. It was kind of interesting to see Macklin only play 21 minutes, no foul trouble, but they just liked the combination they had, in their interior passing I thought was tremendous in the game.
Yeah, and certainly Patrick Young, we saw some post moves from him that were very encouraging. He's starting to come along better offensively. And I think it was just kind of like a game where, in the second half you get up by double digits. You got a stretch of games ahead. You're going to have in about a week and a half or 2 weeks a Thursday set. Maybe you keep a guy like Macklin fresh for that Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday stretch that's coming up in late February, early March. But certainly was very impressive early on for Macklin. 6 points, and they went right at Sam Muldrow. They didn't really back down, and were able to hit some shots early from inside and kind of establish that and work their way outside as the game went on.
Yeah, we don't really hear much about his tendonitis in his knee anymore, Macklin, but it's still there, and certainly that's a good point. They will get a chance to rest next week, but before that, the game against Tennessee Saturday. Florida in great position, leading the SEC East by 2.5 games, which is quite a nice margin, but you still have these 6 games. And when you think about it, there's one easy game. The rest of them are all tough, even at home. Tennessee here, of course, they've got still to play Georgia here, Alabama, which is leading the West, and then to go on the road and have to go to Rupp and have to go to Nashville. I mean, it's going to be a tough stretch here down at the end of the season, but it starts with Tennessee on Saturday, 6 o'clock game over at the O'Connell Center, and of course Florida winning the game in Knoxville. And the Tennessee team is kind of a hard team to figure, because the egg they laid at Rupp is a stinky egg. It did not smell well.
They actually kind of, they made a little run to make it interesting at halftime, but then the second half didn't play well at all. And, that was obviously Bruce Pearl's first game back. And, Bruce will be in the O-Dome. He's, well documented, 8-2 against Billy. But I don't know if this is the same kind of Tennessee team that can give Florida those problems in the past. I still think that, given the fact that Florida turned the ball a little, I still think you're going to see those traps on Irving Walker, that pressure from Tennessee that they will bring. But Florida being at home, and it looked like Irving is heating up a little bit from the perimeter as well, going 4 for 5 from three-point range. They can if they can find ways to get him open on the floor for some shots and work inside out, I think they'll be in good shape. Yeah,
this is a Tennessee team that not only has Bruce Pearl back, but they have got Scotty Hobson back. I don't think he was 100% the other night, but he'd probably be closer to that against Florida. And they can't win without Scotty Hobson. I mean, he's a really good player, obviously. One area I think Florida maybe will take advantage is down low with Macklin and Tyus, and of course Parsons driving to the hoop because their inside game. Brian Williams is kind of a plotter, So it'll be interesting to see that. I'll talk a little bit, though, Kevin, about the performance of Chandler Parsons. I made this point on my radio show. He's starting to sneak into that argument of top 25 Gator players of all time.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable when you take a look. 13 career double-doubles. He's got 6 straight games in double figures rebounding. And, Billy kind of made the point after the South Carolina game and reiterated on Thursday, just really playing with that intention, just kind of letting the game come to him instead of forcing things, which is probably what he and a lot of Florida players did early in the season. Now I think they're kind of attacking defenses. They're finding the open guys, and Chandler is really showing its versatility also, from that point forward spot, really, kind of accepting his role there to create as well as to score, to dish assists. And, and I think his shooting also has gotten progressively better during the course of the season.
Yeah, it has. And, to put together almost getting a triple-double there, and again, this is a team that beat Florida, but you see when Florida shoots well. and they take a team like South Carolina and just annihilate them, and they'll beat a team like Tennessee if they shoot well.
Yeah.
If they don't shoot well, then it gets a little iffy.
I really thought that, coming off the Kentucky game that we saw in the second half and coming up the Auburn game, they were much more patient against the zone. They did a really good job of working the ball around. The ball movement was really good, and that resulted in the open looks that they got, and obviously it looks a little bit better when you shoot the ball well and knock down those open looks, going 8 for 18 from three-point range. But I really thought, their patience against the zone was really good.
Well, we'll see what kind of game it is on Saturday, and we'll certainly see what kind of crowd there is. I don't think it'll be Kentucky full, but it should be a pretty big crowd for the game against Tennessee. Tennessee kind of inspires that, and also the people should be excited about this team. And at some point we just have to say, hey, maybe this team's pretty good.
Yeah,
they're 19-5.
3 in a row, and obviously 8-2 in a very tough SEC. And they've done a good job putting themselves in that position. But, you always have to guard against complacency.
Yeah,
with this group, that's kind of the key is, how do they handle, practices and stuff. And I think the South Carolina game did show a little bit of maturity because coming off those 2 emotional wins, they could easily went on the road and went down. They actually had some turnovers, some careless turnovers early in the game, but they remained focused throughout the whole 40 minutes of the game and did the things they needed to do to win the game, and really did it on the defensive end of the floor as well.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for our latest Swampcast. Next time we come back to you, we'll be talking about the Florida game with, of course, Tennessee, and then previewing. It's going to be a while before another game after that. It's going to be another week until they play LSU.
Yep.
Until then, Pat Dooley, Kevin Brockway of the Gainesville Sun saying so long from the Sunshine State.